Most of us will never kill anyone, let alone someone famous. But some people have the guts and the grudge to do just that, changing the world forever with one fatal blow. Here are the 3 most famous assassinations ever. Julius Caesar, Roman dictator and Civil War hero, had made himself very unpopular in his later years. After seizing power, he began to make enemies both within Rome and abroad. While most senators were happy to share power in a republic, Caesar wanted all the power for himself. He appointed loyalists to influential positions, gave away free grain to win over the masses, and celebrated his own victories in the Forum. But this blatant disregard for tradition was wearing thin on many Romans. Caesar had also started a civil war with Pompey, who fled to Greece after losing and whose supporters were now calling themselves liberators. A group of senators led by Cassius and Brutus decided that Rome needed liberating from Caesar as well. On the morning of March 44 BC, Caesar arrived at the Senate house where he was greeted by his friend and fellow consul, Decimus Brutus. The 2 men embraced warmly, but the gesture turned out to be a ruse as Decimus pulled Caesar into a back room and motioned for him to sit down. It was there that the conspirators fell upon Caesar, stabbing him over 20 times. Though mortally wounded, Caesar made it back to the Senate floor to utter the famous line, "Et tu, Brute," meaning you too, Brutus. He died shortly afterwards. Despite their best efforts, the assassins were unable to quell the anger of the Roman people. Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, defeated them in battle and went on to become the first emperor of Rome, taking the title Augustus. For our next assassination, we travel forward about 1800 years to Sarajevo, Bosnia. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was visiting the city when he and his wife Sophie decided to take a drive through the streets. Their open-topped car would become a death trap as a Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip emerged from a crowd and fired 2 shots, killing both the Archduke and his wife. Europe was thrown into turmoil as the Austrians prepared for intervention. Soon, the Russians would jump to the defense of Serbia, while Germany supported Austria unconditionally. As the French and British prepared for war, Europe's leaders met in a series of futile peace conferences. When those failed, the Germans declared war on them and began their invasion through neutral Belgium. The British and French were caught off guard, and the unprepared Belgian army was soon overwhelmed. By September, Paris was under siege, and the Germans were advancing through the northeast. To make matters worse, the Russians were losing badly against the Germans. It looked like the Central Powers were set to win a quick victory when the British landed troops in Belgium in an attempt to relieve the pressure on Paris, though the offensive ultimately failed. The relief of Paris bought precious time for the Allies to regroup and prepare for the coming battle. Eventually, the war would end with the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the Russian, Ottoman, and German empires. Europe would also be drawn into a worldwide conflict that would leave millions dead and change the world order forever. While the previous assassinations changed the course of history, none had a bigger immediate impact than the killing of United States President Abraham Lincoln's successor. In the aftermath of the Civil War, the country was still deeply divided. The southern states were bitter over their defeat, and the imposition of federal troops to enforce Reconstruction policies only inflamed tensions. Enter James Garfield, a Republican president committed to equal rights for former slaves. His policies were seen as a threat by many in the South, including former Confederate soldiers. On July 2, 1881, a mentally unstable office seeker from New Orleans named Charles Guiteau entered the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad station to confront Garfield. After failing to get an audience with the president, he returned 2 days later and shot Garfield 4 times at close range. Though the president managed to remain conscious long enough to speak to his wife, he died 2 months later. Public outrage over the assassination helped to secure the passage of the 18th Amendment, which banned the sale of alcohol in the United States. It also led to the implementation of civil service reform, which created a merit-based system for federal jobs and removed patronage appointments. With the passing of these reforms, the political machine that had dominated American politics since Andrew Jackson was broken, and the country began to move towards a new era of progressive reform. And now, it's time for a bonus entry. Few names evoke the same level of intrigue and conspiracy as Lee Harvey Oswald. On November 22, 1963, the 46th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, was riding in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas, when a series of shots rang out. 2 of the 3 bullets struck Kennedy, killing him almost instantly. His alleged assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, was arrested the following day, but he would never make it to trial. 2 days later, while being transferred to a different jail, Oswald was shot and killed by nightclub owner Jack Ruby in front of live television cameras. Although Oswald was officially designated as Kennedy's assassin by the Warren Commission, alternative theories persist to this day. Some believe that the CIA was behind the plot as revenge for the Bay of Pigs invasion, while others blame the mafia for wanting the president dead due to his brother's crackdown on organized crime. However, These theories lack evidence, and there is little doubt that Oswald acted alone, though his motive remains unclear. If you want to know more about conspiracies surrounding JFK's death, then check out the series linked below. Or if you want something completely different, then click this other link for another recent video. Thank you for watching.